At the beginning of the school summer holidays, I took a bus and a boat and traveled out of my comfort zone, along with 4 temporary colleagues and 35 kids. So right now I'm walking on the beach on the Danish island of Fanø, which I visited last summer as well. But this time I'm here because I signed up to volunteer at a summer camp for kids or teenagers who aren't necessarily going on a vacation with their families. Not exactly underprivileged kids. They get a week here where there are activities. We're 5 adults, and yesterday the weather was really nice. We went walking with them in the other direction here when it was low tide. Right now it's high tide. You can see that the water's right here, and the weather's not great today. Yesterday it was really nice, and they've actually said that it's going to rain heavily today, so this isn't bad. The first summer camp on Fanø began in 1948, but the organization that began it all, Opad, was established already in 1904. They used the same building as in 1948. Here you can see the view of it from my room, with the sea behind it. It's only about 100 meters from the beach. There were morning, afternoon, and evening activities every day. Here the kids are playing a game called rundbold, which literally means round ball, a kind of simplified version of softball that all children in Denmark play both in and outside school. We walked into the village of Sønderho, some 2 kilometers away, which some of the kids complained about, and which we ignored. There was an antiques market, which surprisingly fascinated many of them. But the main attraction was a subsequent visit to the supermarket, where they stocked up on snacks. The sunsets there were spectacular. Because of the flatness of the land and the nearness of the equally flat sea, the entire sky was visible. And the sun lit it up in the most amazing golden colors. So it's been a challenge from dawn till dusk here. Lots of teenage dramas and lots of things going on, but it's also nice to be able to do something for these kids, and it's a trip to the real world, I have to say, in many ways. Fanø is a beautiful place. I made another video about it last summer where you can see some of the sights more. This time I'm not going to get around as much, and certainly not alone. This is a rare afternoon, or 1 or 2 hours in the afternoon where I can actually be alone. So I thought I would just record a little for you guys. But this is what it looks like here, completely flat. It's a small island off the Danish west coast. You may be just able to see the house behind me there. That's where we live. The whole thing came about because of my daughter's teacher. We met him on Fanø last year when we vacationed on the island. He's been a regular on the summer camps for 25 years. Then there was a school event a few months ago where we talked to him and asked if he was going again this year. "Yes, I am," he said, "but we're a colleague short this time. We need another woman, for the girls." My partner looked at me and said, "Isn't that something you'd like to do?" Which, although he did volunteer my services rather bluntly, was not taken out of thin air, because I'd been thinking about mentoring kids or becoming a so-called visiting friend through the Red Cross. Well, my daughter's teacher jumped at the chance and invited me on board, and I said I'd think about it, which I did for about 3 days, and then I said yes. Slightly unusual perhaps, but he is my daughter's favorite teacher, understandably so. I felt it wasn't too great a risk, and it wasn't. There's a lot of bunkers from the Second World War all along the western coast of Denmark. Here they have quite a few, this being one of them. I have the place pretty much to myself, which I like, of course also due to the weather. I've met 3 people, a couple with a dog and a lone wanderer like myself. As you can see, the west coast of Denmark is one of the few areas where the countryside and the seaside is a bit rough, slightly wild, not as cute as in many other parts of the country. I walked up into the dunes and, as it began raining a bit more heavily, got more and more wet. But it seemed to fit with the landscape. I hadn't come out for a pleasant stroll in a park that day. The vegetation here is completely different from the rest of Denmark. I think this may be, I don't know, it looks like a kind of heather. And then there's these mushrooms. There are these cornflower-like flowers that, well, we do see them elsewhere, but they certainly belong to this part of Denmark. And then we've got this purple flower. I'm not sure the name of it because I don't usually frequent these parts. But that looks like a type of fern. There are many wild rabbits in the area, as well as foxes, so we have to be careful that we don't disturb them too much. That house is where I need to go. And my shoes and socks and jeans are pretty much soaked through. Oh well. It was really nice to go for a walk by myself, I had to say, but also to experience yet another tranquil sunset, without rain or wind. The following day I went on a bike ride with 10 of the boys to a small town called Nordby at the other end of Fanø, 14 kilometers away, about 8.7 miles. My bike squeaked, and it was a bit of work keeping up with these teenage boys. I reminded them that we had to bike back the same 14 kilometers, but they sped ahead regardless, which was fine. I mostly kept up with them. We walked around in Nordby a bit, and I repeatedly tried to draw their attention to the beautiful houses, away from whatever car happened to drive by. I bought a cortado from a coffee seller we met last year as well, who's originally from Chicago, but who has lived in Denmark for years. Later that evening, we all went for a long walk to the edge of the sea, and I had a chat with some of the girls, trying to mediate between some who had fallen out with others, etc. There was quite a lot of that, and other small dramas.
Ja. Ja. Ja.
It's very difficult to see here, but on the other side of that stretch of water, there are lots of seals lying about, working to get fat before the winter. There are lots of them on Fanø. Unbelievably, when we got back, a couple of the kids asked us, where were the seals? They hadn't seen them. Every morning we put up the flag, and every evening it came down again, traditionally before sunset. And the one time that we forgot, a local resident came and reminded us. It's supposed to be bad luck if you forget, and islanders are typically a bit more superstitious. Also, the flag is not allowed to touch the ground, so here a boy named Patrick is helping my colleague Martin put it up. On the morning of the last day, they all played capture the flag in the dunes, except for those who by then had sore feet and legs from all that walking, as they said. It was hilarious to watch, especially as my colleague Martin acted as the announcer and created a lot of competitive excitement. I couldn't help meddling and strategizing a bit with some of the girls. In the afternoon, there was a small trip back into Fanø, incidentally voted one of the most beautiful villages in Denmark, where I got the chance to be a bit by myself again, which was much needed. By this time, I was so tired, partly from all the activities, but also from all the sea air and the constant company. On this last day, I thought back to my reflections on going, my motivation for signing up for the week in the first place. I wanted to do something worthwhile that would also benefit others, and there was a reason many of these kids were coming to this summer camp. I'd been worried that I wasn't suited for this sort of thing and wouldn't do a good enough job. But at the same time, I knew intuitively that it would be okay. I always had a good relationship with my students back when I was a teacher, even though they were older. When I told my daughter about my doubts, she said, "It's an opportunity," using the English word, and I had to agree with her. I like embracing new things that might give me new experiences, new insights, which I hope will allow me to grow as a human being. And this certainly gave me many new learning experiences. Not to mention quite a few hugs from the kids on the day that we said goodbye. In the evening, the kids played rundbold again, and this time we joined them. I was an idiot and tried to film it, just as the ball came toward me that I was supposed to catch. But I think I made up for it with my rather enthusiastic sprinting later. I've always enjoyed playing rundbold. I came away from that week full of appreciation for teachers and for Fanø, and really tired.